Hey, I'm Jen, host of the Open Bedroom podcast, where you'll find topics of sex, dating, relationships, non monogamy, and more. I'm glad you're here. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Open Bedroom podcast. I am your host, Jen, and today I want to talk to you about our throuple breaking up. I've let it just kind of rest for a few weeks because I think, honestly, I was just hoping that we would all get back together and it would be fine. We've also gone through Thanksgiving and, a bunch of other life stuff. So I've just kind of sat on this for a while, but it's obviously time to tell the story because I don't want you all thinking that we're still in our happy little throuple. So let me back up to the last solo episode that I did was about our throuple vacation. And it was great. We had so much fun together. It was our very first throuple vacation with Jess. And we'd had another one with Steph before, a few years before. And I came out of that going, it is so great to have a third person to vacation with. Like if it's just you and your spouse, you're like, okay, I'm going to have to do what they want to do because, that's what you do, compromise, right? But when there's a third person, then you kind of all get to do what you want and you just trade off partners whenever you want to do something different. So I'd spend the day with Jess and we would hang out in the spa and read and hold hands and have adult beverages and have a lot of fun. We did bingo together. It was fantastic. And then as I got tired, because I was a farmer in my past life, apparently, and I go to bed at like 8 or 9, like an old lady, I would pass Jess off to Scott and they would go play around the ship and go dancing and look for ducks and go to the arcade, things that I'm not interested in. So I was so happy coming off of that throuple vacation with Scott and Jess and thought, man, I could do this like forever. Like I could have this person in my life forever. Well, I don't know, a week or so, a few weeks after that vacation, Scott comes to me one night and he's like, I want to still have our relationship be open. I'm feeling a little like not strangled, that's not the right word, but like kind of claustrophobic a little bit, like knowing that I can never ever really be with another woman and I might want that. And I'm just finally coming to terms and realizing like I'm polyamorous and I want to be able to have a somewhat cracked open door. And I was like, what? We're in a closed throuple. We've been with Jess for over a year, almost a year and a half. And she's moving here to Arkansas with her kid and like uprooting her whole life. What are you talking about? And just made it really clear to us that she wanted a close throuple. She wanted to be monogamous with us. And I was fine with that. But honestly, y'all, it's because I have stuff too. Like I had Scott and Jess and Steph and all of that stimulation and all of the extra sex. And for me, that was enough. But for Scott, it wasn't. And because he didn't have, he's not a partner to Steph. I am. So anyway, long story short, he's like, babe, I'm sorry. This is like it's not quite enough. Like I want to have the door cracked. So I looked at him and I was like, this might ruin things and you're going to have to tell Jess. I'm not going to tell her, you have to tell her. So he told her and it did not go well. It did not. Jess was very clear and I would say not go well in that I got to continue to be in a throuple with her and him. She was very firm, and I'm very proud of her for saying, no, that's not what I want. And I envision my future feeling like stability. I want stability. I want to have, a person or two people that I spend my life with that help raise my kid. And that was another thing for us is we were like, look, we're on the outside. We're about to be done with children. We don't want to raise another person's child. Like we're super happy to be involved and be helpful and you can come over every day, but we don't, Scott and I don't want to physically raise another child, and have that responsibility. We're about to be empty nesters in just a few years, and we want the freedom to travel and the freedom to, be in that stage of life. And there's nothing wrong with any of this. There's nothing wrong with knowing that you need stability or realizing this isn't quite the right fit because I want someone that wants to raise my small child with me. I mean, that feels fucking fair, right? So that was it. That was literally the end of the road. There wasn't compromise. There wasn't, Scott was like, I need this. And Jess was like, I need this. And they looked at each other and they were like, well, our paths are no longer going in the same direction. So this is ending. What I thought might be helpful on today's episode is to talk about what it feels like to be the person in the middle, because I think that person gets kind of ignored and gets forgotten that they are deeply also in pain and affected by this decision, right? So I'm here to talk to the third in the middle who didn't want any of this to happen and loves both of these people deeply and doesn't understand why we can't just all get along and love each other. So I thought today I would talk about, number one, dynamics change in every relationship. Dynamics change in marriages where you're one-on-one with one person, you're monogamous. You might want something when you first get married that 5 years later you don't want anymore, or you don't realize you need something else. This happened with me. Um, I've been married 3 times and I consider all of them successes. So don't you think Jen's been married 3 times? She doesn't know how to pick people. Like I've had amazing, amazing people in my life. So my first husband gave me my children. I learned a lot in that relationship. Um, Let's move to husband number two. Husband number two gave me peace and this sense of security that someone wasn't going to yell at me or throw things against the wall. And I needed that in my life. And I, for 8 years, felt safe and secure and had the freedom to really spread my wings and figure out who is Jennifer? Who is this person? Who do I want to become? And I had the safety and security in this little protective womb that I was in my marriage um, to really explore that. And I visited Hawaii like 2 or 3 times, and I joined women's groups, and I joined business things, and I exploded my business and made millions of dollars and made new friends. And I don't know, tried weed for the first time. Like I was such a tight ass going into my 30s. I was like, this is the right way to be, and this is who I am in the world, and this is like I only do the right thing. And for those of you that don't know, I'm a firstborn, so I'm like such a typical first child, type A perfectionist, like only want to please my parents when I grew up. So like I've lived with all of that burden into my 30s, and then was like 38, I think, before I finally ever tried a joint in my life. So anyway, I felt like all of a sudden I had this permission. So as I think about how we change, that's really this topic I'm trying to talk about here, is when I first met my second husband, I was still goody two shoes. Jen wanted to always make the right decisions, didn't want to do anything quote unquote wrong, wasn't open to exploring the world or my own sexual identity or sense of self or any of that. So I had this protective bubble to do that. I know I've been saying this now for a few minutes, but something shifted for me in my late 30s as I think the second marriage was coming to an end where he didn't change. He was the exact same through the whole thing. And I was like, oh my God, I haven't explored anything sexually. And I feel so sexual all of a sudden as I'm going into menopause or perimenopause. And I want a partner who's willing to want to explore that with me, and not just sex, but like see the world, or like be a part of my business, or grow something together, create something. So like I kind of like came out of my cocoon. I was like, whoa, what's out here? Let's figure it out, right? So for me, that was a huge dynamic change that ended my second marriage. So um, I'm finding now, 4 years into open relating, that this doesn't change. In fact, it almost kind of accelerates the rate of change when you are open to being open and you're in an open relationship. You learn faster and faster and you feel faster, right? Like you feel the jealousy and then you're like, okay, how do I deal with this? And then you get over it. And then you feel a new thing and you feel this and you feel that. And you're like, okay, I got to keep moving through it. And it's like very fluid, right? So I want to give you permission that dynamics change. And I wanted to give an example as well, not just from, being monogamous and opening our relationship and ending my second marriage, that sort of thing, but being in an open relationship, how dynamics have changed as well for Scott and I. So, this interesting story that I just told you with Jess firmly planted and saying, I don't want to be open, which was actually a fairly new thing for us. We had just finally closed our relationship like 6 or 8 weeks before. We'd spent over a year still being open and Scott and I still seeing people. But Scott's adjustment to, I need the door to be cracked open, or I'm feeling like I'm being suffocated. Like I feel like all my options are suddenly chopped off. Um, we actually had the reverse happen at the beginning of our open relationship. So maybe 6 months in, we started to date Steph, who is still my girlfriend today. So we had a throuple, and Steph was the one coming into our relationship going, y'all, I have just joined this world of open relating. I'm not closing myself off by just dating YouTube. Just telling you that now. Like, gonna be honest from the jump. And so we knew there was no like pinning her down, which a part of us wanted to. And so I think, Scott and I sort of played with that with Steph and how does that feel? And I don't know, half of a year, I think, 6 months or so in. I'm not totally sure on timing, but I think it was about half a year in. Um, Scott was the one that realized this doesn't feel safe for me, and I want a girlfriend who chooses just us, who chooses us every day, who we can really get deep into relationship with and really get to know this person, and they're not dating other people all the time. So it's kind of interesting, right, that it flip-flopped and that now Scott's the one going, no, I need the door cracked, right? So I just want to give you guys some examples of our own life of how dynamics shift and change. And so I want for you to give yourself permission to let that happen. What 4 years of open relating has also taught me is to toss out all the rules. So sometimes when we're dating someone new, we start to talk to someone new, we'll get asked, what are your rules as a couple? Like, am I allowed to talk to him without you, the wife, knowing? Um, can I kiss you guys on the lips? Like, apparently, there's like a lot of rules out there in open relationships or in swinging or whatever. I don't understand. I don't know. We don't do that. Um, we share everything, Scott and I do. So, if I'm curious and I'm like, hey, what have y'all been talking about? Or like, hey, what are you guys doing on your date? Like, we just freely share as much as the other person is comfortable with. So we don't have rules when we're dating someone because we're sharing in the experience together, right? We're dating the same person. Um, this also is something that I have learned while dating Steph. So actually, Steph and I have been talking about this a lot lately, and I thought it would be important to share with you guys. So when we first started dating Steph, there were rules, sort of, right? Like there were expectations. There was this container that we created where we said we're in this throuple and we aren't going to be dating. Scott and I won't be dating other people. We're just dating Steph, but Steph can go date other people. And then that morphed and changed into this dynamic that wasn't comfortable for Scott. So he decided to eject out of the relationship. He said, I don't like this anymore for me. This doesn't feel good. I want a different dynamic. But Jen, you love Steph. If you want to keep seeing her, go for it. So to me, that is a liberation in not having rules around, well, if we break up, we can't date anybody else unless it's together and it must be this way. Our intention is always for Scott and I, to date someone together. We want to share and enrich our own marriage with the addition of a third person, not just for sex, but to fully share in their life. But I also don't believe that you throw people away. I mean, I say that often. We don't throw people away. So if you want to continue having a relationship with someone and I'm just not interested in that anymore, by all means, continue to go see this person. And then they become my metamor and it would be great. And we can have Thanksgiving together and I can babysit their kid if I need to or whatever, right? So I found tossing out the rules is helpful. As I continue to give you my journey of Steph and I, her and I started dating once Scott left our throuple. We continued to date, and a part of me was like, I want to be so intentional with my time with Steph that it's on the calendar every month. Like this was me trying to effort to show her you're important to me and I really want to carve time out for us. So I asked her, can we have 2 dates a month? So this was probably a year ago, year and a half ago. And I'm like, let's get out our calendars because our lives are so busy. And I'm like, let's carve out 2 nights every month. One, we'll just have a wild sex date together. Like it'll be intentional that we dress up for each other and we come together and we have sex and we connect our bodies. The other one, let's just grab brunch or let's grab dinner and just catch up as people that love each other. And we want to be included in each other's life. And outside of these 2 times that we would connect throughout the month, we didn't talk all that much. Like we'd occasionally do like a Marco Polo or a text and like, hey, hope you're doing well. But there wasn't like a day-to-day communication. It's not Steph's style, I guess. Um, so after about 6 months of this, I think for Steph, it ended up being a bit stifling. And I remember being really frustrated because I couldn't get her to commit to calendaring like the next few months. And she was like, what if we just didn't put it on the calendar and next month we just kind of wing it and we find time to get together? And I was like, okay. And I was just really frustrated because I wasn't getting the time that I wanted from her, that I believed to have a good relationship with somebody, you had to have this amount of time or this amount of attention or this amount of calendar events on your calendar. And her shifting into that and saying to me, actually, this felt really good at the beginning, but it's feeling kind of stifling because I have so much other stuff going on in my life and things I really want to pour my extra time into. I want you in my life, but not to the extent where I have to figure out a date on my calendar. So we moved into that dynamic, and that's what we've been doing ever since. And it taught me a few things. Like, A, it taught me that I still love and want to be in relationship with Steph, no matter what that looks like. And sometimes it's every other month that we get together. Sometimes it's 3 pizza nights a month because we're having a hard time and we need to connect with each other verbally and talk about our life or talk about something that's really stressing us out or something that hurt our feelings or something we're trying to process. And it's no sex and it's just pizza. We do pizza a lot. We have a favorite pizza place that we like to go to. And so learning to toss out all the rules with Steph has taught me so many incredible lessons about the relationship I have with everyone in my life. All of a sudden, instead of me being like, to be a good girlfriend to you, I have to have 2 nights a month on the calendar to ensure that I'm connecting with you. Or in order for me to feel connected to you, I need for you to give me X number of days or times or connections or Marco Polos or whatever, which is what I was doing. And instead to look at my relationship with Steph and say, I love you and I want you in my life. And we're going to figure out what that looks like, but it doesn't have to look a specific way because all that matters is I love you and you love me. And when we're together, it's really fucking awesome. And that's it. That's all that has to be. So We've learned to not feel guilty about the lack of time that we spend together. We've learned when we do connect to make it really fucking count. And from that ease of relationship, I can now look at my relationship with Scott and remove all of these societal rules or rules that Jen has decided are important and just go, hey, when Scott and I get to connect, it's really fucking awesome. And it doesn't have to be a certain way. The other thing that it's taught me is to not rely on my partner to meet all my needs, not one partner or two partners or whatever number that is. And so what I do instead is I go, A, what can I do to make myself feel full when I come to my partners? So that means like self-pleasure sessions because I'm highly sexual. That means me finding shit to do with my life. Like I've joined Pilates and 4 days a week I go freaking exercise and I make friends in Pilates. I have a friend I go crafting with, and her and I go do weird old lady crafting shit. And I talk more to my mom, and I bake bread, and I have friends that I go do dinner with. And so, like, I've made my life be full so that my partners don't have to pick up the slack of me not having a life. And maybe this is a good point to just stop and ask you, listener. Are you relying so much on your partner to fulfill all of your needs, including your societal needs and your conversation needs and all of your sexual needs and your loneliness, feeling, whatever that is? Like, are you relying on your person or closest people to fill all of that for you? Or is there something that you can do for 2026? Because we're about to walk into 2026 in this episode. Is there something that you can do to enrich your own fucking life? Can you go commit to an exercise program or join Planet Fitness for $10 a month or do something that commits to your physical body? Can you join a hiking group or a knitting club or whatever, like skating? I don't know, whatever it is that you're interested in. Can you join something that might light your heart on fire? That might bring new friends into your life, that might make you feel so fulfilled that you forget all these things that you want your partners to do for you and that you're kind of making them feel obligated to do because you're so full yourself. And then I guess lastly, it also allows me to open the door if I want to go bring more partners into my relationship with Scott, and have more people to date. I can do that too. Because sometimes Scott's really busy with school and he's in finals week and or he's working on a cool project and he's freaking busy. Like he doesn't look at me and go like, how many ways can I fulfill Jen today? Like he's busy. And so there's pieces of him that I get and piece sometimes I don't get others, right? Same with Steph. She's really fucking busy in her life. And so I go, cool. I have room for another partner. I have room for more love. I have room for more sex. I have room for more connection. I have room for driving 2 hours to another state to spend the weekend with someone that my husband and I both want to date or whatever, right? Okay. The other thing, let's see. Okay, the last thing I want to say before I end is this experience has really continued to teach me to allow people to come in and out of your life. So as we circle back to our breakup with Jess, I was not a happy camper about this. I was very hurt for many reasons. I was frustrated with Scott for changing his mind about being poly, and I was frustrated that his decision impacted me and our relationship with Jess, who I love and want to be forever in relationship. I was frustrated with Jess for not wanting to continue to date me. Like I am dating Steph, so I just don't understand. I still don't understand why her and I can't continue to have a relationship. Because that felt easy and it felt comfortable and it felt sexually fulfilling and it felt like she was my best friend. And so now all of a sudden, not only did I lose my girlfriend, but I lost my throuple and I lost my best friend, who I was throughout the day messaging, sending Marco Polo, sharing things about life, things that I don't want to bombard Scott with. And poof, all of that is gone because she needs relationship to be a certain way. Scott needs relationship to be a certain way. So So, what I'm learning is you can't make someone decide that they want to be with you. And I'm also learning that it doesn't have to also be so fucking hard. If you want to be with someone and you love them, be with them. Like, release the strings of rules that you've created in your mind that you think need to be a certain way, and focus on the fact that you've found someone that you actually love. You've found someone that you actually want to be with, like for a long ass time. And how magical is that out of all of the humans in the world that you actually can tolerate someone, love them, have amazing sex with them, have things in common with them that you want to talk about. Like, there's so many things that have to align and plug in to want to be in a relationship with someone. And to me, it's mind-boggling that anybody would light that on fire and not want to keep that. But I was telling Scott last night, it's mind-boggling to me that people would have great sex and not come back and want to have great sex again. Like, would they just walk off into the sunset and they're like, well, maybe that'll happen again one day in my life. That was fun. So I understand that I probably look at things in a little different way. And part of that I attribute to Steph because she's taught me this kind of unattached love that you can have with someone where they don't have to check every single box in order to, at the end of the day, decide they want to be in a relationship with you. They can just choose to be in a relationship with you and then figure out how to fit that into life. That's it. That's all I have for you today. I am leaving today for New Zealand for 2 weeks. There may or may not be an episode the following week after you get this because I will be across the pond in a different country. So if I record something, it'll just be on my headphones and we'll see how that sounds. And maybe I'll feel inspired to send something. And if not, you'll hear from me in 2 weeks when I get back. It is the holidays as well, so episodes might be a bit spotty as we get through all of that. I'm excited to tell you guys at some point about Scott and I's wedding day, and Steph married us. So kind of I wanted to call it like a polyamorous marriage. And what is that? What does that look like? And maybe share some pictures with you guys. The other big thing happening in our life is we're moving again. So Scott and I bought a house together and we're in the middle of a big move. So December is pretty crazy for us, but I do want to just stop and say it's the end of 2025. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Thank you for continuing to tune in every week. Thank you for subscribing. Always feel free to message me on, I mean, gosh, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. However, you want to send me suggestions for podcasts or what you thought about an episode on Spotify, you can actually just send comments there and say, hey, this is what I thought about this episode. I read every one of those and I actually respond to all of them as well. So your contribution is hugely appreciated and also gets to just form the show in the future. So if I don't hear from you guys or you don't hear from me in the next week or two, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy 2025. Let's make 2026 better than it's ever been before. A brand fresh new year, thinking about what you want to create, think about how you want to love deeply, and create something really incredible for yourself. Talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Open Bedroom podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, go ahead and give us a like and click subscribe below and stay up to date on all the new episodes that we release. If you have a topic that you'd really like more information on, leave us a comment below and we'll see what we can do. Feel free to share this podcast with all of your friends and especially your partners. This is a great way to open up some amazing conversations. We'll see you next week.